Well, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 4 of the director's cut of ReZero, or I guess this is episodes 7 and 8. As we dive in to this season a little bit further and a little bit deeper and with a little more questions. So yeah, new camera, hope testing it out, hope it looks good. I have a lot of comments from you all that we're about to dive into because y'all, I'm gonna be honest, I was very overwhelmed by how many of you all tuned in for episode 1 and how many of you all are tuning in for episode 2, and hopefully that continues. My dogs are excited too. Hopefully that continues into episode 3 and 4 and whatever. I was not prepared for how many of you all there are. That's great. I was like, oh, this is a bigger fandom than I anticipated. So, yeah, daunting is to say the least, but there were so many amazing comments, and I want to give a shout out. My moderators, y'all are like amazing. It's like, y'all are amazing. You all are fantastic. They went above and beyond. Game Master 07 and he just had like a whole set of screenshots that was like, okay, here's all the comments from oldest to newest, and it's like good, skip, new, good. You have no idea how helpful that was, because there was like 150 comments, insane, and the ones that were not spoilery, I went through and read them all and answered them all, and so there you go. I was really very humbled, and I'm very grateful for all the support. My mods are amazing. You all are fantastic. There's been so many good comments. I want to dive into them, but just first and foremost, thank you all for the support with this series. It's really kind of crazy. I've not since the days of Attack on Titan have I had such support for a series, and I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. So that's exciting. But yeah, so we're going to dive into these comments before we get into episode 4, because I've been very eager to dive into this episode, but the mods were like, I knew I wanted them to go through the comments first before we got into this, because there was so much and I didn't want to get bogged down. And so waiting a week to week is going to be very difficult with this series, especially because we left off with freaking Subaru just getting annihilated before going back to the beginning, apparently, allegedly, we think so. So, and there's so many questions about the timeline. We're going to dive into it in just a hot second. But first, there will be timestamps, trust and believe. I want to dive into the comments that you all left for episodes 1 and episode 2. Most of these are from patrons for episode 2, and then those on YouTube for episode 1. And I tried to organize them by content if I could. So Laser G3B for episode 1 says ReZero was originally a free web novel on the Shosetsuka Ninaro website, Let's Become Novelists, in 2012, and got picked up to become an official light novel series in 2014. That's kind of cool. It's basically like if somebody was writing on Wattpad and then a publisher was like, want me to publish that? That's pretty cool. The author of ReZero, Tape Nagatsuki, doesn't consider himself to be a creative person when it comes to character designs, which is why he let Shinichiro Otsuka, the official character designer for ReZero light novels, do whatever he wants most of the time. The majority of the ReZero characters don't have a detailed description in the novel, but instead they have features and aspects about them that are highlighted multiple times. But there are indeed characters with detailed descriptions, they just aren't that many. Interesting. I would describe myself as the opposite. I'm like all about character design and how they look and how they like appear and everything in like fine detail. But that's kind of crazy. I don't know how I would feel personally letting someone design my characters. That seems like such an undertaking. And what if they turn out not like how you imagine them to? I guess you'd tell the artist, be like, tweak this and change that. But that's interesting. Cool. So thank you. That's good to know. And then I've got a couple comments that are talking about the genre of isekai. So Shua Wanwan, they had a whole gigantic comment, as well as Baseball Lover 723. The two of them had insane amounts of information about isekai, so I am paring down a lot of what they said, but if you go on to Patreon or go on to YouTube, you will find out their comments are pretty substantial. But Shua11 says, isekai literally translates into, quote, another world. From all the isekai I've read and watched, there are 3 main types of ways to isekai. Step 1 is reincarnation. The person is reborn into a new world. Sometimes they remember their past life or later on in their life. Step 2 is transfer or portal fantasy. The person's body is still theirs when they reach the other world, summonings, portals, etc., which I think is that's what ReZero is. It's a portal fantasy. Or then there's transmigration. The person's soul or consciousness is put into an existing being in another world. Sometimes the story will bait you into thinking it's a transmigration story, but it's actually a reincarnation story to make you feel bad for the previous owner. I think that Scum Villain Self-Saving System is more of a transmigration story, but there's also a reincarnation element in it. Whereas I feel as if, and I think Lord of the Mysteries is transmigration as well. So there you go. Interesting. There's also reverse isekai. And isekai within isekai, what is this, Inception? But that's a whole nother talk. Yeah, isekai within isekai seems like a lot. It's just like a truckception. And then Baseball Lover 723 said, the trope of ultra long titles in isekai is from Naro. Since the competition there is so high, people started putting the synopsis of the story as the title so they could entice people scrolling past to give their story a chance. Also, Japanese is much more densely written than English, so you can fit a whole sentence in a respectable amount of space. That makes sense, where the word's like 3 words long in Japanese, but then in English it's like a whole sentence. By the time ReZero originally aired in 2016, this was right about the time that isekai started being made en masse. And so they said, ironically, the show that basically made this possible was Sword Art Online that originally aired in 2012. My brother has talked about Sword Art Online, but he kind of like grimaces when it's mentioned, so I don't get good vibes from it. I've heard mixed things. But yeah, so this chart that Baseball Lover shared, I'm going to pull it up for you all to see. Woo! So it started out in 1983. There was quite a few isekai around, even back to the early 90s. And then in 2005, it kind of spiked. And then it went really down in 2000, like in 2007 and 2010, there was less than there were in the 80s. So I don't know what was going on between 2007 and 2010 with anime, but isekai was not it. And then 2012, it has a little bump. But yeah, 2016 and then 2018 especially. And then from 2020 on, it's like, which I could kind of see in a post-COVID world where you want to escape reality to get into a fantasy world. I could see where that would be appealing. I could see that being appealing. I mean, 2008, 2010 were great years, so maybe people didn't need to escape at that point. Those were some prime times, let me tell you. But that's such an interesting chart. Thank you for sharing that. I am so fascinated by like genres and timelines with anime, so that's kind of cool. I like that. Oh, they said in the City Hall and the phone thing, it's common for Japanese high school students to be in contact with City Hall to organize college plans or something like that in real life. That's crazy. I can't imagine having like the school number on the dial being like, hey, when am I going to come and volunteer at the school? That's such a weird thing. But yeah, I guess it's a cultural concept. It's not weird. It's just different. So cool. Thank you. Owie, OW50G said, fun fact, Subaru's voice actor and Puck's voice actor are married in real life. They said, so, Subaru being on Puck's lap is not that crazy of a concept in the reality. That's crazy. Okay, cool. I like that the voice actors for Puck and Subaru are married. What a wild recording session that would have been, But thank you. And then Olex D3183 says, fun fact, Subaru's introduction pose is a reference to Saturday Night Fever. I get it. I wondered if it was Saturday. In my head, I was watching it going, is this Saturday Night Fever? Or is this like a 70s disco reference? I should know this. But then I thought, did the mangaka intend for that? But, when this came out, the mangaka were probably born around the time that would have been relevant. So, yeah, wild. It's just very weird to see Subaru in the 2020s doing the Saturday Night Fever pose from like 30 years ago. So wild. Or 50 years ago at this point, if it's 70s. That's bizarre. Crazy. Jintoki 5535 says, one little detail I love, and I don't think it's a spoiler. The mod said it wasn't, so you're good. But right as Subaru gets transported to this new world, you see the light return to his eyes. It's quick where his eyes are dull, but the moment he realizes what's happening, his eyes shine. A lot of other people commented about this, and and everybody was like, he's just had a really bad world, and the moment he gets in this fantasy world, his eyes just light up. And I was like, so does he hate his real life? Did he have a bad relationship with his family? We talked about this in episode 1, but I was kind of like, I kept wondering, like, did he just not care about his family? Does he just not, are they on bad terms, you know? Because I've seen other isekai story where the main character is actively like, hey, I need to get back to my family and the real world because I have a life. And here, Subaru's just like, it's fine. Now, after he dies about 1,000 times, guy might change his mind. Guy might be like, actually, I want to go back home. You know, that might become a thing. But anyway, Gale Thor 9758 says the thing with ReZero is that it's swamped with side content and cut content, and while not strictly quote unquote obligatory, please make the experience, it does make the experience more enjoyable and complete with a lot of the world building. I'm not asking you to watch it, but if you do, I'm convinced you would enjoy it simply for the theory crafting potential, just food for thought. The completionist in me gets very daunted by all of the side content because I don't know if I will have time on this channel to get through all of that. I'm not reading the light novels. I literally do not have time. But we'll see. I'm doing the OVAs. We'll see. We'll see with how this keeps up on the channel and everything. If I get interested in the side content, it might be, at this point, I don't know if I will go straight through to season 2. It will depend on how this does on the channel if I go straight to season 2. But if I do, then I don't know if I would have time to see the extra content. If I took a break and did a small series in between this, then I might, but I don't know if I want to do that because I'm really liking the story so far and I kind of want to watch straight into season 2. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Gus N.A. says the biggest ongoing mistake that Crunchyroll makes, in my opinion, which is the correction in the FLE version of Reinhardt's title. His correct title is Sword Saint, which you saw in the Chibis, not Master Swordsman, and this one causes me so much pain. Yeah, I think the Sword Saint fits a lot better, and Gus went into more detail about why it fits better, and I agree with that. I think Sword Saint is a much more descriptive and specific title for him. Master Swordsman just kind of sounds like, oh, he's just a good swordsman, but Sword Saint kind of implies the divine attributes that his powers get, right? And then Kotaro, 1483, says in episode 2, every other character has their own personality and the way that they would react to a given situation. It adds to the intrigue on what's going to happen next. Not because of Subaru himself, but because of how the other characters will react to what he does. It shows different sides of the characters in any given loop. Like even the Appa vendor, we saw so many different sides of him in those 4 loops. The harsh side of him who pushed Subaru away for being broke, to the kind side of him who gave him an Appa for free when he faints. It's really effective in showing how even the smallest things can change other characters' reaction to Subaru and the situations that he finds himself in. I will say that while I agree with that 100%, because while the whole having to redo things is frustrating when things are going well in the first loop and then you have to restart and you're like, but things were going really well over here and now we have to start again. Like that part is frustrating, but just like what Kotaro says, I love the fact that we're getting to see characters from different angles each time, and one little change can completely redirect the timeline in ways that Subaru can't even fathom. So it makes for a very interesting, like, you don't exactly know how it's gonna go. Is it gonna go the same as it did before? I don't know. So that's really cool. So I'm curious to see what we end up getting as we go through the series and what we get into it. So yeah. So anyway, thank you all so much. I know that took like nearly 14 minutes, but I've been having so much fun with the comments and so much fun with the show, and I wanted to thank you all, and those comments felt like they needed to be said before we dove into episode 4. So I will be having the mods check every week, and hopefully if your comments does not have spoilers, hints, or clues of things to come that I will discover when I watch the show, then I would love to read your comment and reply to it, because it's fun to talk about this show, and you all have some great insights. So yeah, with that, let's not waste any time. Okay, so we're going to start ReZero, the Director's Cut, episode 4. And we are going to get that party started here in 3, 2, 1, and let's see what we get. Well, this was such a good episode. This was such a good set of episodes. Oh man. My Barcoon. My Barcoon is ready in HD to talk about these episodes because these were great. Man. Oh, Subaru, my dude. These were great episodes. Yeah. Yes. Sound of Chains and then Natsuki Subaru Restart. I feel for our boy. I feel for him because I was wondering if if the mechanic of him surviving and restarting at these checkpoints, if at any point he was going to be able to tell Amelia or the others about it. I was wondering, I'm like, is he going to be able to vocalize that? Because usually it's kind of like time travel. You don't want to tell the person that you're in the room with that you can travel through time, or that you've already engaged in this timeline. You've seen these events happen before, because then the people around you are going to be weirded out and they're going to be like, what do you mean you already knew it was going to happen? And what do you mean? You know, they feel kind of violated because you've been in that space with them and you've already experienced things. At least in time travel stories, that's always a risk. Or it's a risk that you're going to tell them and it's going to alter time and ruin the future and whatever. In Natsuki Subaru's case, it's not that time travel is not in at all, but I kept wondering, I'm like, is he going to be able to tell Amelia and the others that he keeps dying? And how is that going to go? No, he can't. And so I'm like, oh, okay, good. Glad we've established that early, that that's not a possibility. So that makes things have a lot more stakes, because sometimes in isekais, the ones that I've seen so far, there's a part of me that wants that person to be able to tell the others around them that he or she is from another world, or that they're reliving a timeline. I'm like, I want you to be able to tell them, because that would make things easier, you know, in concept. But here, I really like that the story is saying, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to do that, Subaru. You're going to have to find a way to work around it. That makes it harder, but it also makes it more rewarding for Subaru to figure things out. And man, we're not going to talk much about the chibis. The chibis were adorable. I love Betty. I love her so much. Her character is fantastic. I love her. Well, I suppose. It's so cute. I love that. But everything with Rim and Ram. Yep. Oh man. So it's been both of them. It was both of them that were attacking him. But there's still some questions. There's mystery. There's questions. There's things that hasn't been answered. I'm so curious. So we're going to put our questionable things up here. And man, you all can see Whiteboard Kun a lot better with this web camera. So one of the big questions that I have is about the Witch of Envy. The Witch of Envy, and also the connection to Amelia. The big why in episode 1. Why in episode 1 did she use the Witch of Envy, Satella, as her like alias when she was talking to him? I guess we talked about it previously, that in that first timeline, she didn't quite fully trust him. So she was testing to see if like he would respond. And when he didn't, she was like, whatever. Or maybe you are of somebody from another world. Who knows? Because if she had said Satella, the Witch of the Envy, you'd think that person would like recoil based on the fairy tale that we found out about her. We found out that the Witch of Envy is a folklore that is probably, and as we find out, based on reality somehow. I don't think that Elsa is the Witch of Envy, because although she had like a purple motif with her outfit and everything and like her aura, I don't think she's the Witch of Envy. Although Elsa could have been working for the Witch of Envy and connected to Subaru that way. Could it be that when Elsa first stabbed him and he revived in that world, that Elsa's weapon or something to do with Elsa triggered that curse on Subaru where he kept reliving it? I don't know. We could kind of put this on here. Is Elsa connected to this? I don't know. We haven't seen the last of Elsa, so there is a good possibility. I don't know. I'm curious how Amelia is tied to it, how Elsa's tied to it. E's for Envy, E's for Amelia, E's for Elsa. Lots of alliteration going on here. I'm going to be curious. But yeah, so we find out the Witch of Envy is essentially preventing, or I think it's the Witch of Envy, preventing Subaru from telling about his curse. We'll put curse in quotation marks. Yeah, so I don't know what we're going to get out of that. That's going to be interesting. So questions with that, we're going to keep that up there. But I also, Gus N had recommended that when I go back to do the discussions, I do the discussions through through the original episodes. And I was like, let's try that this week. Let's do that. Because they said the subtitles were a little bit better in the original episodes. So I was like, yeah, we'll try that. I didn't go back and rewatch the original episodes for this particular reason. Because I'm like, okay, well, if we do the discussion through the OG episodes, we'll get to see that in real time on here. So that sounded fun to me. So we're going to get started and see just that. So we're going to look into episodes 6 and 7. Here in 3, 2, 1. Make your 6, 7 jokes. Go ahead. I'm glad when I said in the intro episode 7 and 8, I downloaded episode 7 and 8, and I'm glad that when I clicked episode 7 to get it loaded up, I was like, why is this starting where Subaru gets attacked by Rim? And then I was like, oh, it should have been episode 6 and 7 because episode 1 just went up with episode 1. I was like, oh, we're being thrown off. So yeah. So glad we got that settled. But anyway, so let's dive into this episode, shall we? With Subaru waking up and God, I cannot imagine just like living through all of that pain and dying and then getting just restarting back, but still having experienced all that pain. Y'all, we are in episode 6 of a 4-season show. And Subaru has already died at least 7 times. So this is going to be... There's an episode of Doctor Who where the Doctor dies like 1,000 times over and over and over again to reach the end of a certain point, and he remembers every single one of those times that he died, and it's a big part of his character growth. And all I could think about whenever Subaru was like getting to that point where he was deciding to jump off the cliff, I'm like, he's like freaking Doctor Who. He's gonna keep dying, and it's just gonna like slowly harden him into this individual that's just like, I worry at some point he's gonna get numb to death. And that worries me a bit because he's going to get to the point. He got to the point in this episode where he was just considering just being like, I'm just going to start over again. And I was like, ooh, because back in the first arc, somebody had said they call each death like sequence, each part where he gets past the checkpoint and goes somewhere new, an arc. So in the first arc, he died like on accident after running in with the bandits that first time. Not really on accident, but sooner than he expected. And it was a shitty timeline anyway. And so here, when we got to the shitty timeline in this episode set, I was like, I don't want you to die, but it's really not going good in this version. So luckily, Subaru got it together, locked in, figured out what he needed to do, and then it was all good from there. So we can hope that that's going to be the case. But yeah. So he wakes up here, God, and then sees, and he's like, oh, my left arm's okay. And he's like, I went back again. And he's like, I made it back. And then there's Rim and Ram. Rim and Ram, huh? So let's bring Rim and Ram up here and talk about them in this. So Rim and Ram, I am still convinced that they are demons. I am still convinced that they are demons or have magic abilities like one, clearly, because Rim seemed to show it off at the end of this last episode, that they are that way because they are basically the blue and the red Oni, right? And they talk about this. Now, in the story, the red Oni the red one was trying to make friends, with the humans, and basically used the blue Oni to do this. But it was at the sake of the blue Oni sacrificed. They sacrificed themselves and abandoned the red Oni. That's interesting. I don't consider Rim to be one that wants to integrate in with the humans or the villagers or anything like that. But the fact that we saw Rim hanging around Myotismon, aka Roswell, the fact that we saw that means that maybe she's trying to become like someone that's in the social sphere that Roswell and them are. And she, is willing to use her sister as a means to kind of do everything else so she can get ahead in that sense. I don't know. But it seems like what ends up happening is that just like in the story, Rim sacrifices herself. I'm going to change that letter there. Rim ends up sacrificing or getting sacrificed because Subaru ends up not dying, and then that gets Ram all pissed off. So, yes, interesting. Okay, we have a lot to talk with these guys, but I think it's clear, though, that if we go back to, and I'm gonna bring up the timelines again. So, if we go back to the one timeline, in timeline 1, Subaru died in their sleep. We don't exactly still know the reasons behind that. We think that he had his life force sucked out while he was asleep. How that works, we don't know. That death is still a little mysterious. But in timeline 2, we have the idea that basically, I think that Ram killed Subaru in that timeline. And in timeline 3, which is the one that we are currently in, or the one that we were currently in, that's when we're in now, is timeline 3. He died the one time in his sleep. Then he came back in and Ram killed him because we saw like her slicing magic. She didn't have the mace. Rim has the mace. Ram has the slicing magic, and that's what killed him this time. Then in this timeline, we had Rim. Rim killed him with the mace. One took the arm, one took the leg. And then in this timeline, timeline 4, Subaru jumped from the cliff to restart, and we're going to have timeline number 5. It's going to get to a point where, like, in one season, there's going to be, like, 10 restarts, and we're going to be like, oh my god. So, yeah, but what's interesting is that, like, each time is for a different circumstance and a different reason. So, in this, we didn't have a lot going on. We do know that, and this marker is about had it, so we're going to transfer over to purple. In this one, Betty had zapped him. Betty zapped him. He didn't have a great relationship for her. He decided to work. He decided to work at the mansion, and he was just learning the ropes. And nothing really. The first timeline, not much happened in that moment. Then in the second one, he started like developing a relationship with Betty. They just got acquainted, right? He still worked at mansion. Get that on there. Worked at mansion. In this one, he learned some things, learned the ropes. But then he also had some moments with Amelia that were really good. But then with Rim, he developed a friendship. And he developed the friendship through being the butler. So he developed a relationship by being the butler, by following her into town, the village, by telling her the story about, well, he didn't tell her a story, but he said how about the like demon inclined and how he was okay with demons and all of that. Like in that sense, he befriended Rim. And then it's Ram who ended up killing him because he didn't develop that friendship with Ram. And Ram got jealous thinking that he was trying to hurt Rim. And then it was a whole thing. So in this one, we had, again, Betty and him develop another friendship. And we'll get there. We'll just get there and talk about it when we get to it. But yeah. So that's kind of was the impetus behind where we were. He made the friendship with Rim in the second timeline. And then the third timeline, he made friends with Ram. And in the fourth timeline, he realized, I screwed up. I probably should have befriended both of them. I shouldn't have picked and choosed. I should have befriended both of them. That was my secret. And so maybe in the fifth timeline, he'll befriend both. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, and because in this timeline, he's like, well, we're just going to start over again. And he's like, I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused. And he does his little Saturday Night Fever pose. Love it. Love that for him. And they're both like, what is happening? Okay, also the OP. What a trippy OP. Pretty crazy. It is, I hate that it ends with him. It starts and ends with him just in a bloody mass. That's fun. Not really. So he's like, this is my third first day at the Roswell Manor. We had a little question about that in the last episode with the timeline, but we're going to treat this as timeline number 3 in this. And he's like, I need to think back to that chill. Did that mean I died in my sleep due to the physical weakness the first time? And the second time, something definitely attacked me. The thing is, he asks if everyone there is a target, but they're not. It's really just him that's the target because he's the only one suspicious. Nobody's targeting Amelia. They even talk about how when Rim is questioning him, she asks if he's like trying to hurt Amelia. She's like, are you a spy? Are you someone trying to take advantage of Amelia in the situation? Like, Amelia's not a target. Betty is clearly not a target. Girl just is living in the public library, in the forbidden library. Roswell's not a target. He could be behind this whole thing. And so I think him questioning, like, if he's the only target, it's like, yeah, you definitely are, sir. We were caught up in Amelia's royal selection at the loot house. Okay. He's like, but how else can I do it? I love that he just, as he's walking around, as he's walking in a circle, I thought for some reason it was going to like pan out and Betty was going to be like on a little spin, like a little spinning chair. She was going to be like just spinning around bored. But no, he's been pacing around her the whole time. That's actually hilarious. I love that so much. But yeah, she's like, you're irritating me. So yeah, he's like, well, it helps to walk in circles. The third timeline was such a great timeline. I was like, in my head as this episode was going on, I'm like, please don't let him die from this timeline. We were having such a good time. We were doing so well. And then the fourth timeline sucked. And I was like, nope, we need to get out of this one. This is a bad one. And so, but that just shows you like how much little things can change. And so I like that in this, for once, like the last two episodes, I was like, Subaru, I wish you would try to befriend Betty, because if Betty has this all-knowing ability of like changing doors and everything, and if she has a lot of power and magic, I'd be trying to befriend this person and not mock them. And so he does that in this episode, and it actually works. Like, he's nice to her. He helps her get the book. He like sees about her reading stuff and like gets the fairy tale stuff. I like that he doesn't get when she's like, I'm reading about how to get rid of bugs, and then he gets it at the very end. That was really funny. And then she's like, shoo, shoo. That was great. The shoo, shoo. Loved that. So yeah, and he's like, I'm the one you're trying to get rid of. She's like, yeah. Throwing him onto the bushes and then it be covered in manure was just genius. Yes. As someone that grew up on a farm, yes, you do cover these bushes with manure to get them to grow. Or at least in this case, you do. And he ends up meeting Amelia. I like that his meeting with Amelia in the third timeline is an act of her being concerned for him, but it's kind of like played off as a little more lighthearted, right? And he's able to be a little bit more genuine in the moment. We'll say that Puck coming out and spraying him with water gave that one like hydro pump. That was so funny. I love that. That'll work. That'll do. Good job, Puck. And that face! Also, it's super effective in this episode because you have Subaru and Puck like bantering and being back and forth and be like, how dare you? And hearing Amelia have this genuine laugh was so wonderful, and like her finding just humor and them both fighting against each other, it was so cute. And I'm fine with Puck being like, it's my daughter, you can't. As someone that grew up in the southern Midwest, that is a mindset of like the fathers being like, you can't marry my daughter till I give you approval. Like that is just played as a joke. They both played off really funny. Yeah. Because Puck is like, Amelia's guardian and all this. It's just super cute. I thought that was great. She's like, what are you two doing? Adorable. That's so funny. I love that. So yeah. And she's like, oh, isn't Amelia the best when she smiles? And he's like, oh yeah. Her smile is the first shining star in the night sky. Does that make her Orihime? And does that make you Altair? Oh, they are the Orihime and Altair. Wow. I swear, I'm watching a lot of shows on my channel that are like cosmically syncing up in terms of themes. And this episode with another series I literally am watching this week on the channel is talking about Orihime and Altair. It's lining up. How crazy is that? But yeah, Subaru is like Altair, who's like the mortal, and she's like Orihime the princess. The first and second brightest stars in the night sky. Look at that. Look at that. I love that. That kind of matches up really, really well. Cool. Go watch Steins Gate 0 episode 16 to learn more about Orihime and Altair in the discussion in that episode. But yeah. So now here he says, it's what they call a pet name. Puck calls you Leah, and I'm calling you Amelia Tan to show how close we are. And I do think that the saddest part about this is that he has known her for multiple timelines, for multiple lives over and over again, and they've had all these interactions. In every timeline that he encounters with her, that's the only time she's known him. So she doesn't have all these extra contexts. So when he says, well, it's to show how close we are, we as the audience are like, yeah, that makes sense because he's known her all this time. But when she says, oh, well, I don't remember getting so close to you, that's the sad part. That's the sad part, is that she doesn't remember that. So to her, she's like, well, we're not really that close. Are we really on, first name basis? That's really sad. It's really sad because Subaru has been cultivating and maturing this love for her over the course of the series so far, and to her it's a little bit diluted, and it's not any fault of anyone except for how this world works. And he's like, it hurts how easily you say that, but I'm not going to lose heart. It's an advance on our relationship. I want us to get close enough that we can call each other by these names, okay? And she's like, sure. She's like, I guess. Puck's like, that was some pretty weak flirting, but we'll take it. Yeah. Oh, Amelia. And she's like, oh, don't stare at me. And I like that Puck explains, being like, look, this girl's kind of a shut-in. She don't have a lot of friends, so she's actually totally fine with this. She actually wants you to call her pet names. She's an easy woman. When he's like, the main heroine is an easy woman, I'm like, dude, don't be getting into the stereotype. Don't be getting into the trope. If she's easy, it's going to be twice as hard for you because you're going to die every other episode. Ugh. So, anyway, I like that he says he is a drowned rat. That's really funny. They call him like a wet wash rag. So, he goes back to he's like, I got to do the same thing over again. But this time around, I know what I got to do. I need to gather information on the assailant. So he's going to take the advice that Rem gave him the last episode where she was like, you should have just volunteered to be a guest. Or maybe it was Amelia. One of the two gave him that advice. And he actually takes it this time and is like, I'm not working for you. I'm going to be a guest. And you all are going to have me as your guest. And I'm just going to freeload and find information out. Now, every action that he does that is different from the last in a different timeline has a pro and has a con. It's like he learns something every time he goes through the timeline, but he's also still experimenting with changing what he knows did or didn't work. And there are pros and cons to that. So the pros of him choosing to be the guest and not, be someone that works there, the pros of that is that it gives him time to go around and try to gather intel. So that's the pro. The con is that the last two times we saw him working in the mansion, it afforded him the opportunity to get to know Rim and Ram and develop these relationships with them, or at least with Rim in the one timeline. And because he developed those relationships, it helped him to bond with them. And then it was the other, like in the first timeline, he just died in his sleep. He didn't really develop a bond with either of them. They were just kind of awkward around him. But in the second one, he developed a bond with Rim, and Ram's the one that ends up killing him. So, what he should have done, I think what he should have done was work at the mansion, but then take the time to get to know both Rim and Ram. And have them both sit down and talk with him and him get to know them. That's what he should have done. But instead he's like, I'm going to be the freeloader. And it just kind of gets on, especially Ram gets on both of their nerves. And she's just like, I don't like this. And he's like, how should I gather questions and answers? And see, because he tries to do this, he tries to talk with Rim and be like, hey, can I talk to you? And she's like, sorry, sir, we're just the help. And he's like, oh, but I was the help once too. But he can't say that. So he's just he doesn't get to get that intel. So if he were working there again, but now he has the information to know that he needs to get to know both of them, that might help. But I don't know if he's going to choose that again. I don't know if he's going to choose that again or if he's going to choose to be a freeloader but then get to know both of them outside of that. That has me excited because I was like, okay, what we're going to do, That has me excited to see what's going to happen. She's like, if you'll excuse me, sir. And he's like, oh, no. He's like, I didn't get a word in. And like here, he's not like getting measured for the butler uniform. He's not talking to them like in between the rooms. Like he's not like helping them clean. There's not that interpersonal communication with him and them that he was developing the first two timelines. Instead, he's just wandering around. And he doesn't have Amelia help him because she's studying for the whole candidacy thing. So it is kind of like, I feel bad. Like I feel bad that he, this time around, doesn't find anything out of the ordinary. Except the chains! He's like, what you looking for? He's like, oh, well, you scaring me is misleading. So he says, magic, died of weakness and sleep. Sound of chains. Roswell's chains? Misleading. Yeah, so we find out it's not Roswell like I thought, but it is, Rim did have a mace. So here he's trying to narrow it down, and Ram is the one that he tells the story to and gets to know her instead. So that's kind of the trade-off that we have with, instead of him developing the relationship with Rim, it's Ram. So we find out from Betty too about the curse. So we find out that there are shamans that are able to pass curses on to people. Now, they also talk about smell of the witch, which I don't know. To me, I don't think Amelia is the witch, because obviously she doesn't seem to be. I don't think she's connected to the witch, but I wonder if his battles with Elsa are still lingering, because it's not been that long since it actually happened in world, if that's what she's smelling. Or, here's the thing, if every time he dies, that scent of that witch gets stronger, that could be crazy. That could be wild and explain some things, but I don't know. Or, I don't think that Betty is the witch of envy, so we'll see. But yeah, and they talk about them being in the northern nation of Gusteco is the subclasses. She's like, they're kind of useless. Don't worry about the shamans. They're not that bad. But, you know, with mana, one's life force could be sucked out. Although Betty says that her and Puck are the only ones that can do that. So, not even Roswell. So, again, there is still the mystery of who's kind of behind it all. Because it feels like from this episode, it feels as if, Ram and Rim aren't the masterminds, but they're just reacting to Subaru and the weirdness surrounding him because they feel like he's a threat to their each other's sisters' existence. But there's somebody pulling the strings. We just don't know who yet. I did love this moment a lot. This was the moment that I was like, he's helping Betty out. So we're going to put that on here where he helps Betty. I love that part a lot because, you know, Betty reminds me of like if a short person's at a convenience store and she's like trying to get to the top shelf and the tall worker comes and he's like, here you go. And she's like, yes, thank you. Like, I love that. I love that interaction that they both have. So she says your blood wasn't replaced. So your blood is super low and we just got your wounds healed. So we find out that Betty actually is the one that mainly healed him, not just Amelia and Puck. They restored... They cleared the wounds and sustained him, but Betty's the one that saved him. Again, the fact that Amelia's not that great of a healer, at least not on Betty's level, makes me question her candidacy, or being worthy of being a candidate, I guess. But also I'm like, can we get this man a blood transfusion? He's lost a lot of blood lately, as you know. This kid's looking a little anemic. Let's get him a blood transfusion, y'all. Can we do that? Anybody got that ability? Is there like a healing spring that can restore his blood? I don't know. We stabilized you, and then I healed your wounds. The one thing is, my dude, why'd you question Betty healing you? Why'd you make a joke out of that? Will you not learn your lesson? How many times we got to throw you out this window? I guess he'll learn eventually, right? I guess. I think it was nice foreshadowing of him jumping out the window and then to him landing in the cliffside. Like there was a little bit of foreshadowing with that. I love that Amelia's like, once again, are you okay? Like we went through this before, but you all right the second time? She didn't put as much manure on it this time. So yeah, she's like, this is all vague. He's like, I am a guest here. So yeah, so he's told Puck to watch over Amelia. I don't think Amelia's in any danger here. I think it's all him. And that's when him and Rim tell the story about the Oni. which I thought that was really interesting. I wondered if Rim was the one that actually wanted to be around the humans because she goes into the village and does all the stuff, and if Ram was the one who was willing to sacrifice or not. The fact that she said, "Don't tell my sister this story," I feel like since the sister might be one that's prone to sacrificing themselves, maybe it would come across really sad to them, and Ram doesn't want her to know. I'm curious to know y'all's thoughts. Obviously, if it's revealing something from next week, then, well, by the time I read the comments on Patreon for this episode, I'll have already watched next week, so that's a fair point. But I'd like to know y'all's perspective about the Oni story in relation to the two of them. I know we're going to find out more next week. This is probably going to relate back to this story even more, but I am curious because it's the reaction that Ram has is really good. I like that. And I like that, you know, Ram thinks all the characters are dumb. And I like that Subaru tries to find value in some of them. He's like, well, no. He's like, you know, I kind of felt bad for the blue Oni, but, you know, he didn't get anything out of it. And then the red Oni, you know, he was taking advantage and did nothing for himself. And she kind of clarifies what she says. Because he says, what does he go there? He's like, well, that's a harsh critique to not take any love from it. He's like, I'm the type of guy that wants to be rewarded for my efforts. He's like, he dragged the blue Oni into his own desires. He didn't lose anything, only the blue Oni did. And I like that she says, you know, which Oni would you choose? And he picks both. This felt like a foreshadowing to what's going to be happening next week, is that when he picked both, I felt like by the end of this episode that was foreshadowing, that it's him realizing that he needed to save both women. He didn't need to choose one or the other. And hopefully he will learn that lesson and carry it into next week, because he needs to. He really can't afford to die again. We need to probably get past this arc. Maybe, possibly. So they talk about the dragon, that there is a noble dragon that protects the nation from far away, got some range. The Wi-Fi range for this dragon is insane. So we found out, I'm going to get our pink bag out here, that we have this dragon, and it protects the kingdom from far away. But what else do we have there? It's beyond the great waterfall, and it will do so till its promise with the royal family is fulfilled. So put beyond. They said great waterfall in all caps or in capital letters, so waterfall until the family promise is fulfilled. Now, Subaru brings up, you know, from the last episode, kind of a point of concern, and that is the fact that didn't the royal family just die out? He's like, hey, that family that they were supposed to have that promise with, didn't they just die? Isn't that concerning? And she's like, oh yeah, quite abruptly. No one knows what the dragon wants. And with the current situation, only the dragon knows what the dragon will do. And I'm like, that's concerning. That's concerning that this dragon that's been waiting on this family to give it what it wants is suddenly gone. How's that dragon going to react? We don't know. And Ram did not want to do anything with the witch. And Ram seems to hate the witch. So I guess even mentioning the witch could get you in trouble. I wonder if Subaru mentioning Sestella and invoking her name has like attached her to him in some way. Then the question becomes, did the Witch of Envy, did she summon him to begin with? I know it would be crazy because at the beginning of the series, Subaru was like, yeah, I've wanted to be summoned by this beautiful, cute girl. What if this nasty, terrifying witch summoned you for some reason? That'd be pretty wild. I don't know. I'm going to be curious to see where we go with that. So she leaves, and he points out a scary witch. To even speak up her name sparked up a great fear. Well, he did it without even, questioning it. And yeah, we see her. And there's the black arm. The black hand looks exactly like the black hand that has been clutching his chest. So yeah, she seems pretty scary. The Witch of Envy. And she's an elf. So, yeah. And she has white hair. Does our girl... Look, Amelia seems to really resent the Witch of Envy. Is Amelia related to the Witch of Envy? Don't know. Is this like a Fiona from Shrek situation where Amelia is the Witch of Envy? I don't know. I don't think so, because when he was trying to tell Amelia about him dying, the Witch of Envy stopped him. And if Amelia was really the Witch of Envy, I don't know if that would have worked or been that or went down that way. So I do think they're two separate entities. Now, are they possibly related? I don't know. Could be. Could be. But yeah. So in any case, he's like, I'm gonna leave. So this was a weird choice. I get that this was a weird choice to me. He wants to go stake out and check on the castle and do all of that. But like, it is, if you're trying not to be suspicious to Rim and Ram, this was not the way to do it. Because the moment you leave, but then park upside where you can spy on the castle, you are immediately suspicious. So if you have these two women that are trying to protect the castle, we, the audience, know they're trying to do that. But I also like these, like, I'm going to come and rescue on a white horse. And she's like, well, do you have a handkerchief? There's drinking water, and all this. And he's like, what are you, my mom? I love that they set up this, like, you know, Subaru's trying to be the knight in shining armor on the white horse. Like, I'll save you, ma'am. Don't you worry. And she's like, did you get everything packed? Do you have extra underwear? Like they're both performing these stereotypical roles where he's the white knight on the horse and she's the mom. So it's kind of funny that they play with those tropes a little bit. I like it. They're like, well, take care, Subaru. Don't lose the gift that I gave you. I added something equivalent to our 3 days worth of memories together. So this was on the 4th day that he left to go stake out. Okay, so he was there a few days, but then left on the 4th day. Okay, where's this timeline again? Here's the weird part. So on here, he goes to stake out the mountain, and then Roswaal gives him this gift. What the fudge was the gift? Also, was the gift somehow allowing Rim and Ram to track him? Was the gift part of the curse? I don't trust Roswaal at all. And the fact that we've not seen Roswaal do much in this episode said it's mainly been Rim and Ram. It's just giving me Scooby-Doo villain moment where they rip off the mask and like, it's old man Roswaal. Like that, it's old Mathers. It's old man Mathers. Like, it's just giving me that vibe that there's something about him we're not being privy to, and that whole gift thing not being explained. It's weird to me. It is, in the words of Jessica Wilde, that was weird for me. So I don't know. Yeah. And he's like, is it hush money? Sure. I won't say anything, I swear to the dragon, that I shouldn't. And he's like, you know, when you say swear to the dragon, that's a pretty high form of promise. And he's like, sure. So then, you know, he's like, thanks for the food. And Ramchi, he's like, you're good at cleaning toilets. I do think that in hindsight, when he does this with the two of them, he's kind of awkward. But then he realizes it the second time around. He's like, man, I cared more about these two women than I really was letting on. And I was kind of doing a poor job of showing how much I appreciated them. I should have tried harder with that. And I was just trying to make a joke. And that was a mistake. And it's like, it was. So, but anyway, so he leaves out. Amelia follows him and she's like, oh, thanks for everything. If you need anything, come say bye. I love her little hair and the pigtails. Those are cute. I'm just now noticing that. That's adorable. Her little mint green shirt. She looks super cute there. So he heads on his way to stake out the manor. It's like, we're going to wait to see if something's going to happen. And him having the knife that he cut all the food with and cut himself on feels so significant, because it's like he made all these mistakes in the first two timelines, and now he's like, I'm not going to make this mistake. It's like, the moment he pulled out the knife, though, I'm like, he's going to die. He's going to die. The moment he pulled it out, I'm like, damn it, no. This was all, like, giving me bad vibes. The knife, the stakeout, the fact that we saw Rim go to town in the previous timeline, she's going to come back and see him, because it would give her the perfect excuse to be by herself to attack him. I was like, no, this is all bad. I don't like this. And so he's like, I hope she gets mad. I don't want to die. I hate that. Like, I hate the fact that he dies in this series. It's always gory and visceral and very horrifying to watch. Like, it hurts. You hurt along with Subaru. He's like, I didn't go shopping with Rim this time. Yeah, and the fact that the red sky and everything, that wasn't a great sign either. That was pretty spooky. He's like, maybe the food meant for me was left over. Mm-hmm. And he's like, we gotta focus. And that's when the mace comes. Luckily, he ends up saving himself. And that's when he goes around and sees that it's Rim. I wondered if it was gonna be Rim or Ram, but this poor guy, look at him. He looks horrified. Yep. And so then we end the episode. We end the first, with him there saying that it's Rim. And the thing that is so crushing to me is that he hasn't figured out, like, again, Subaru's still getting used to this whole timeline, repeating different segments of his life over again. He's like, well, how could you do this, Rim? After all of our times together. But all this girl knows him from this timeline is the fact that he fell in some bushes that she spread manure upon. That's all she knows about him. She don't know nothing about him. So it's so sad because he knows all the times they've spent together and the conversations they've had, but she doesn't. Oh, it sucks. It sucks a lot. It really does. Yep. Wow, that was actually The Sound of Chains. Great episode, but that was also, it was really good. I was like, ugh. A great way to end that episode. So let's get into episode 7. I'm going to go pull it up here and get started there. Yep. And yeah, it starts out interesting. She's like, I can grant you a painless death. And she's like, why? Is that how? And she's like, why would I trust you? Like, I don't know you. So yeah, this episode was called Natsuki Subaru's Restart. Also, damn, he lost his arm on a chandelier in episode 5. And 2 episodes later, he loses his leg. Also, I will give this show this. When characters lose their limbs, you feel that. Like, it just, it hurts. I was like, damn, not a fun time. And I think it's important that we acknowledge the difference between Ram and Rim. Like, Rim's just gonna kill you. No, Ram is just gonna kill you. Ram is like, slice, cheek, dead. Rim is like, hey, I'm gonna torture you and get information. So Rim's a little bit more scary, I feel, than Ram. At least Ram's just gonna off you and that's it. Rim is gonna heal you up just enough so she can torture you. She's like, you could have stabbed me. That is a terrifying shot. Also, seeing them in the maid costume with the knife was giving me all kinds of American McGee's Alice in Wonderland. I don't know if you remember that game. It was a video game from the early 2000s. It was probably before many of you were born, but it was creepy. And I'm a huge Alice in Wonderland fan, so of course I was like, oh, American McGee Alice. Creepy. The Cheshire Cat. Amazing design, but at the time when I was a kid, I was like, this is very scary. And this reminded me a lot of it. So she says, are you a member of a faction that opposes Emilia-sama's bid for the throne? So we have in this timeline, right before he dies, Rim asks him if he is someone that is working for a witch cult. So there's that. And is she someone that opposes Emilia's bid for the throne? Which, of course, he's not. And he tries to say as much as he can, but she just doesn't believe him. Are you affiliated with the witch cult because you smell like her? And seeing her look so mad. Like, when Rim looked mad, it kind of... I don't want to say it was expected, but Rim is always... Or Ram. I keep getting their names confused. Ram, pink-haired, always came across as kind of being a little bit more grumpy, a little bit more temperamental, a little bit more standoffish, and Rim came across as more sincere and kind-hearted. So when you see Rim have a face like this, it's genuinely upsetting. You're just like, damn, that sucks. She's not, like, the way they animate her face is really good. You were conversing with my sister. I felt as if it was going mad. Someone associated with the one who has caused my sister so much agony. Oh! Encroaching on the place we call ours. I can't bear it any longer. So we find out in this that somehow something about this witch cult has caused Ram problems. Maybe Ram was like the Red Oni and wanted to become friends with the humans, but got involved in this cult and everything, and Rim had to sacrifice to get her out of it. Maybe that was the case. In any situation, poor Subaru, he tries to like point out all the things that they've helped him accomplish, but the thing is, because he's not experienced that with them this time around, they don't know. They don't understand. So he's going to have to, in this timeline, make it up and make it happen again. Otherwise, it's going to be like they're not going to understand. And they're not going to have those connections. Why do you all keep leaving me behind? That line is gut-wrenching. That line is like, you all keep leaving him behind. I have a feeling that's going to be a theme. It's going to be a running theme in this series. I'm going to have to get used to that. What am I supposed to do? That is the question. Because it's like, what is he supposed to do? If he gets through this, what is it leading to? To what point? What's the point? That's a really good question for him to be asking. Why do you two hate me so much? And I mean, we the audience know why. We the audience know what's going on. But he's 18 and he's been dying all these times and it's been throwing him into a state of shock. And I would be honest, if I kept dying and reliving the same timeline over again, it's enough for me to try to like, I have to go back and relook at what happened to be able to make this timeline. If I were living it, I would be highly confused as to which world, in which life did this happen? In which life did this happen? In which life did that happen? I would be confused. And so I can understand why he's like, what have I done wrong? Why do you hate me? And he's just, freaking out and not thinking about it. But damn! And he's like, I've loved you both so much. And then she just sliced his throat open. Ooh, that look. Ooh, that face. Ooh, that face is terrifying. Ooh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy, buddy, buddy. It is something, though, that when he says love, because love is a pretty strong word in Japanese anime. Like, usually when a character says they love somebody, it's either as the most flippant joke, like, love ya, or it's like, you are carved into my soul. And so, it does make me feel sad for Subaru, because I could understand Emilia, him being like, oh, I love her. Like, we're tied by the strings of fate. She is the Orihime to my Altair. Like, all this. But for him to say that about Rim and Ram, who he's only known for 3 days, to be like he loves them, and to say it with that much passion, it kind of makes me feel sad for Subaru, because it kind of suggests that he didn't have a lot of friends in the real world. And so he didn't have anybody to kind of form those types of bonds with, and so he has with them. And I was like, you mean to tell me that it took you 3 days working like a job with these two women to like become besties? Like, it makes me kind of feel sad for Subaru, because that means that he just probably doesn't have those types of relationships in his real life, and so he just instantly forged those. She's like, my sister is too kind for her own good, which is crazy, because that's kind of what Ram thought of Rim. So what a time. So this timeline sucks, FYI. As what usually happens, we have a really great timeline. I've noticed this pattern. We have a really great timeline where things are going swell and we have these wonderful moments, and then bad shit happens, and the timeline immediately following that is garbage. This is the garbage timeline. This is the dumpster fire timeline where he wakes up and he has a panic attack. We don't even get to Betty. In this timeline, he has a panic attack, freaks out, and Betty is bypassed, which she probably is like, wait, what? Which Betty's kind of a tsundere. So Betty was probably like, well, he was supposed to come and see me. I don't know what was going on. And that kind of becomes the impetus for her helping him, because she didn't see him. But yeah, and so whenever Emilia shows up, she's like, hey, they were kind of worried about you. Is everything okay? She's like, you can talk to me. And I felt for Subaru because he's like, I'm at my wit's end. What can I do? And he's like, I've been struggling on all these things alone, but... And when he said, I've been struggling alone, what I thought he was going to do was look at Amelia and go, oh, I've been trying to do all this research and stuff by myself. I could have Amelia help me do this research and be like, hey, Amelia, there's this weird curse thing. Can you help me, like, figure this out? I don't exactly know what's going on. Because he could talk to Betty about the curse and nothing happened. So I thought he was going to enlist Amelia to help him figure it out. But instead, he's like, there's something I want you to know. And when he says, I've died several times, that moment it paused. That was the freakiest thing. That was terrifying. Yeah, and then the way that the smoke comes in, like, I thought that Gorilla's Clint Eastwood was going to start playing, like it just, oh, it's creepy. I don't like it. I just said, I just keep waiting for the beat to drop. That was not a fun time at all. Nope. And then it forming like this grim reaper hand of death that literally grabs a hold of his actual heart and stops it. Nope. Let's not do that. So he's like, yeah, just this moment, worst timeline. The moment he was like, I just want you to go away from me. I was like, no, you love Amelia. She's not in danger. That's the thing. I'm like, I don't think Amelia's in danger in this arc at all. I think she's fine. Like, the people in the mansion are banking on her becoming the next ruler so that they can benefit from her. She's good. You don't have to worry about her. She's going to be dandy. But I'm like, you're the one in trouble. But when he said that he didn't want to talk to her, and she's like, you've been acting strange. And he says, I have nothing to do with me. My heart dropped into my stomach. I was like, no, stop it. And I'm glad that Amelia didn't, like, get offended and be like, well, fine. Like, I'm glad she wasn't like that. I'm glad that she instead was really concerned because she's like, this is weird. Why are you acting this way? And I am going to try to get you help. I think that says a lot for her personality. I think it says a lot for Amelia that she didn't get mad or upset. She was just kind of more concerned for him than anything. I think that speaks a lot for her. So we bypassed the whole, like, meeting and everything and went straight to Roswell. We went straight to Roswell talking to him. And I'm assuming that that's when he's like, he just wants to be the guest. But he doesn't get to talk to anybody. And he doesn't interact with anyone, which is really sad. And he's like, I didn't die a fourth time. My thing is, I don't think it matters how many times he dies. I think he's going to keep going back. I don't think there's a limit. The limit does not exist. I think that it's going to make him keep going back till he accomplishes whatever he needs to accomplish. Now, what that involves, I don't know. But, no. So, in any case, he gets Betty on his side. And she's like, well, you know, I did do something to you, and I am sorry about it. She's like, I don't normally apologize, but whatever. And he's like, you smell of a witch. As someone who has earned her favoritism, you are a burden. So, apparently he's being favored by the Witch of Envy. We don't know why. We don't know what it means. And he's like, I don't like that. Especially because she's preventing me from talking to anybody else about this curse. But Betty agrees to forge a contract. So Betty forms this contract to save him. And she does. You know what? It's kind of crazy. It's, again, we talked about the vendor in the very first arc, that the vendor started out like getting mad at him and sending him away for not having the money, which is kind of essentially what Betty did to him at the beginning. She was like, begone, thought, and then blasted him away. And then as each like timeline has gone and he keeps repeating them, the vendor got nicer and more understanding. We saw these different sides of him. The same thing is happening with Betty. We're getting to understand her and see more sides of her little Cinderella self, and she's kind of revealing that she's a little bit more kind than she wants to seem. So yeah, so they form this contract, and he's like, until the 5th morning, keep me safe. And she's like, fine. And then they do the whole thing where they touch hands and they make the contract. She looks so cute there. Look at her. She's just like, she's so cute. That's adorable. I love her with her little eyes closed. And he realizes that at the beginning, both Rim and Ram were grabbing a hold of his hands. So the two of them have been working in tandem this whole time, which again should be a clue. He needs to work in tandem with Rim and Ram. We're going to see if them wheels get turning next week. We're going to see if them wheels get turning. I hope they do, because they need to. She's like, I, Beatrice, on my honor, am bound by this contract. I really liked Subaru in this episode set. I really liked him. I thought he was so sincere, and him just feeling so, like, emotional and vulnerable about the situation. Like, I really felt for him. There was not time in this episode for weird humor or anything about him trying to, like, adhere to any stereotypes. It was not. It was just Subaru being desperate and being himself. And this is the Subaru that I find most endearing. This is a Subaru I want to root for. I want to kind of gently shake him a few times because I'm like, get it. We, the audience, are getting it. But he's 18 and he's a kid. So he may grow throughout the series and get more self-aware with that. But yeah, he's like, it's like you're demonically possessed with that desperation of yours. She doesn't react to the demonically possessed. She's just like, whatever, call me a demon, I don't care. It's going to be interesting to see this as we go. So yeah, as his weakness, we see him like the 2 times he was going to die. And luckily Betty shows up to save him by holding onto his hand. And he makes it through the night. Now, she brought him there to the library, which, by the way, sweet spiral staircase in the library. All about that. Love that. But apparently, I guess if the curse doesn't take your life, it has to take someone else's. And in this case, it takes Rim's. My question would be, and I guess we'll put this in pink, is why Rim? Why Rim for the curse? Is it random? Is it a random thing where Roswell would have died or Ram would have died? I don't think Roswell would have. But, like, did it matter? Or was it just a random thing? Like, how does the curse work in taking someone's life? I don't know how. My thing is, I like them spending this time together and having, like, the little moments where they read the books. Like, it was super cute. But she gets this summon and is sent to go, I guess, check on Rim because she died. If I had been him, I would have stayed right there. But then we wouldn't have had the plot. But if it had been me, I would have stayed right there and been like, I ain't moving. I ain't getting involved in this. Are you kidding? No way. But that is not what we get. And instead he goes out. And the moment we saw him in the sunlight like this, I thought he's going to get like head sliced off, guillotine style, something's gonna boomerang around and lob his head off. Like, I was fully convinced that was gonna happen. And instead, what we get is Amelia, and she is very concerned. And at first, when she said, come with me, I thought that it was gonna be like Ram or Rim and they could shapeshift and they were gonna like shapeshift into each other and attack him. I really thought that was gonna happen. But instead, he takes her to the room, and even Roswell looks really concerned there. So I don't know. I was really suspicious of Roswell. I really was. But seeing him look that concerned about the situation, I don't know. I don't really question him now. It's weird. This series makes you like suspicious and think certain things. And then within an episode, you're like, nope, not them. So I was like, it's the craziest mystery. It feels like a Sherlock Holmes mystery. Like, what caused this? But damn. Seeing these two women that in last week's set of episodes seemed like the twins from The Shining who had no emotion whatsoever, and then watching them in this set have all of the emotions was a big old 180 from what we had expected, and I am here for it. I am here for the emotional, like, I kind of want both of them to be in the thumbnail, Rim and Ram. And yeah, so Roswell's not happy. Roswell's like, I want to know what happened because I got these 2 girls as my bodyguards, my butlers. I ain't got time to hire somebody else. What's going on? And unfortunately, The thing that's pretty crazy is that Subaru doesn't know anything that would be relevant to this murder case, but at the same time, he does know about the curse and he does know about the murdering stuff at night, but he can't say anything because then he'll die. So it's like he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. And that slice, yeah, from Rim. That's what killed him the first time and another time. Well, okay, so, Rim can do the slice as well. So it might have been her the whole time. Interesting. And I like that Betty's like, no, I promise to save him. And then frickin' Roswell shows up with his mystical rainbow of magic balls, which I will make no commentary upon because we don't have time for that. I do kind of want to see Roswell in action, though. And everything's just really bad. And she's like, tell me everything you know and help me. And Subaru just doesn't feel like he can help anybody. That's the worst part about this timeline, is that Subaru, who is usually this big go-getter, who has all of this drive and all this desire to like solve the mystery and move forward, he feels like he's in such a dead end in this timeline that he doesn't know what to do. And he's like, I can't do anything. And he just freaks out and runs away, which is not Subaru. Subaru is not the person that runs away. Like, even though he did a little bit in the first arc, we established he's not that person. And then he's like, if I die, then what's the point? Oh, God, I feel like there's a difference. There is a difference between actively choosing to take your own life, which nobody should do. Don't do that. Not alone. Don't do that. There's a difference in that and him being like, I don't want to die, but I need to go back and redo this. And this is the only way. And I'm not doing this because I want to do this. I'm doing this because I have to right now. And when I go back this next time, we're not redoing. 5 is it. We got to get past this arc. We got to get past this arc. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be real with you all. I feel like, again, double-edged sword when you're organizing reactions. Because on the one end, I'm glad I know that after the director's cut episode 6, I need to watch the OVA. But what that tells me is that by director's cut episode 6, this arc's going to be over. Or at least I think it will be. By that logic, be like, okay, next week we got 2 more episodes to figure out maybe what's going on. And then we have the week after that, and then we'll have the OVA. So, I don't know. I'm curious. I guess we'll find out. I figured next week might be resolving it, but maybe not. Maybe next week next week is all about getting Rim and Ram on his side, and then the following week will be the resolution. I don't know. But I felt bad for him. And when he said he couldn't do something so simple, I'm like, it is a simple act, but it is not a simple decision to take your life in that situation. Like, you can't say it's simple. It's not. Like, that's a huge decision. And it's not a decision anybody should make. But it's, God, you just feel for him. You feel for him because he's like, I have messed this up. I have ruined the opportunities in this timeline. I don't have a choice, but I don't want to do it. Ugh. And the fact they made his snot different color than his tears, gross. Effective, but gross. And I like Betty. She, came to him. She didn't have to. But she came to say, hey, you screwed up, but I'm going to be a mentor figure for you. And I'm going to tell you that you got a chance to make this work, but you got some work to do. You're going to have to turn it around, turn the beat around, and make this last timeline work out where this one didn't. And I love the motivation that she gives. And so he's like, I was just making a selfish, disgraceful fuss in my own ignorance. I love that Subaru learns in this moment by talking with Betty. He's like, I was assuming that I knew everything about these sisters, but I didn't know anything about them. He's like, I like that he realizes that every time he's been talking with them, he's been kind of making the conversation about him and relating himself to them and not considering their own experiences or who they are or try to get to know who they are. So that's why it's not been connecting. And he finally realizes it by talking with Betty and kind of realizes what he needs to do. I love that. And I love the hand where he grabs him. Yes. And that's when he realizes back then both of my hands were being held. Mm-hmm. And it was the two of them. Yep. If that's the kind of people that they are, how can I leave them? Oh, my heart swelled for Subaru in this moment where he's like, they were such kind people. He's like, I can't leave them behind. I can't let them down. I got to do this for them. I got to help out. And I'm like, yes, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Now jump off that cliff. I don't want you to jump off the cliff, but now that you've realized your purpose and what you got to do. And yeah, no, the voice acting from Ram's voice actress and Rim's voice actress in this episode, I don't know if it's the same one, but they're so good. It was so good. And that shot there, the series is all about hands. Hands, the anime. Hands, isekai. Yeah. No, I'm not mad at it. It's a lot of symbolism with hands. But yep. And I like the idea that he says here, I've always been the type that drifts towards the easiest path. And she's like, you think about something stupid? And he's like, after I manage to save this life too, I'm going to decide how I use my life. I love the idea that Subaru is like, I'm usually the type of person that chooses like work smarter, not harder. And he's like, you know, people sometimes are like, oh, you got to take the hard route into this. He's like, no, I'm going to be smart about this. Work smarter, not harder. Why am I taking the hard way around? No, I'm going to follow my heart and do what I think I need to do and save everybody in this timeline. I was like, you do that, sir. But man, I love this confrontation between them. And then his whole like boing. I love these like, well, before I die, I'm going to get the chance to do this to her because I probably will never get that chance again. Yep. He's like, I didn't accept my fate, but he's like, I did figure out what was on my mind. He's like, I was such a loser. I don't know anything about you. And he's like, I'm going to go back and learn more. He's like, my words hold no weight. That line is crazy, where he's like, I know better than anyone that my words hold no weight. Because he's like, I could very well die tomorrow, and everything I've told you right now, everything, every conversation we've had, every discussion we've made means nothing. Because he's like, last timeline, a day or so ago, I was telling you a story about the Oni. You don't remember that. The fact that Subaru's like, my words have no weight is such a powerful line. But he's like, I'm just gonna do what I gotta do. And I'm gonna get to know you because that was my mistake this time around. He's like, you don't know this either, that I love you. Oh. And then he just takes off and jumps. Oh. I also like the way that Ram reacts, because Ram, when he said, I love you, she just cut his throat. She was like, I don't want to hear it. But Ram is like, what? Like maybe she is the kinder sister, the way that she reacts to that. And then he's like, I love you guys. I'm not going to let you down. I'm going to start this over and we're going to figure it out on the fifth time. Fifth time's a charm. I do think it's pretty extreme that he loves them when he's known them for such a little time. But again, I think that speaks to the fact that he hasn't had a lot of social interaction with people. And so he, like Amelia, attaches himself rather quickly to people, which sucks if you're somebody that repeats the timelines. But yeah. Oof. And then he jumps off. Oh, damn. I went to a water park a few days ago and went on a ride that bottomed out and you just felt like you were free falling. That sensation is so, it's so much. And so when he jumps off the cliff, I'm like, I don't want to imagine that. Especially the sharp rocks at the bottom. No. And they even had like that crunch at the end. No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What a great episode set. This one was great. Lots of questions about the Witch of Envy. Lots of questions about who's responsible for all this. Like, I'm glad that we established Rim and Ram have been the ones killing him, but they don't have to. So if he can befriend them in the next few episodes, maybe we can turn the beat around. Love to hear percussion. Maybe we can do that. we'll see. So anyway, thank you all so much for all the support as I watch this series. I'm super excited to see where it goes. I'm super excited to see what happens with Subaru, my boy. I'm rooting for him now. I'm on board with him. So anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'm super excited, and I will see you all again very soon with more ReZero. Bye.